Hey, so you're thinking about investing in the Bryan College Station area, and have you looked at maybe short-term rentals? Should you do short-term, long-term, mid-term? Well, if you stay to the end, not only are we going to analyze numbers, but this property behind me is both a long-term and a short-term rental, and we'll get a chance to talk with the owner, talk about the numbers, and see if it'll be a good fit for you. So, welcome to my channel. Let's dive into it. Let's go. Welcome back to the channel, Living and Investing in Bryan College Station. And today we're taking a look at this house. It's 407 T Street in Bryan, Texas. Now, the cool thing about this is that we have two houses on one parcel. So right next to me, we'll have the normal 3-2 house, but behind me, we have what most people know as an ADU, or the Accessory Dwelling Unit. So the cool thing about this is that in the Bryan College Station area, you have your high seasons and you have your low seasons when it comes to the short-term rentals. But one of the things that the owner kind of going to speak on a little bit more when it comes to the numbers is like, how do I make sure if I get a long-term rental, what is the rents I can expect? And what will that look like? Well, we'll cover that more at the end. But then also, when I have a accessory dwelling unit, what can I do to make sure that it's going to make me money and it's not going to be a money pit? So I'll do my best to be able to highlight as much specifics as I can. And of course, this is just one opportunity, one thing. So if you're someone that said, hey, I know I want to invest in a Bryan College Station area, I don't know if it's going to be 9 days, 90 days, or even 9 months. Always subscribe. I will continue to drop information that's going to help you make a good decision when it comes to investing in this area. But then also reach out, make sure you schedule a time with us so that I can make sure the question you have specifically for your situation when it comes to investing, I can be able to help you. All right. So what we're going to do here, we'll take a look at the accessory dwelling unit. We'll talk a little bit with the owner, and then we'll take a look at how to have it laid out. And hey, we maybe look at some short-term rental pictures. Let's go check it out. Right now we're in the ADU, and I will tell you this. So when you come to certain areas or you don't know about the specifics about investing, one of the things I always tell people is that find people who know the market, who understands it, and that way your learning curve is cut in half. So with me today I have Viet. He is not only the owner of this property, but also he is a real estate agent here in the Bryan College Station area. So we have partnered together, but he's graciously making sure that he'll be here today to be able to speak a little bit about his numbers and everything that goes. So Viet, man, I appreciate you for just spending some time with us.
I appreciate you, man. I'm the one that actually came up with this this idea so I can get my face on camera. Because I see it on your videos, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Especially just going out there, Century Square, interviewing random people. It takes a lot of guts, man.
It does.
But it's fun though. It's really funny.
So tell me, if you don't mind, so I know you built this unit,
right?
So kind of for people who are thinking about this, could you talk to the costs and any permits?
Yeah, of course.
Stuff?
So at the beginning, I came up with the idea that we saw this house for sale. It was actually another team agent that had it for sale, and we saw that there was an opportunity here. There was a detached garage, and it was 2 separate entrances to this property. So before we put an offer in, we figured out what's it going to cost to fully renovate the ADU, and it was around $50,000, right? And this is when it only frame, only a garage. So we're talking about plumbing, electrical, HVAC, all that. All in was about $50,000, and then about $7,500 to furnish it. So when we look at the numbers, originally we had the main house and the ADU as both short term. But after a year of just data, we saw that the main house was actually performing terribly. So when you look at the net for the ADU, a 400 square foot ADU, 50,000 cost, was doing 1,200 net. And then the main house was only doing about 1,600 blended for the whole year. So we have a whole year worth of data to look at. And so we decided, that's pretty stupid. We have all this, time commitment and energy towards the main house for $1,600 when I can know minimum fully furnished, I can do 2,100. But in actuality, I got 2,400 rent. So now, when you look at the blended numbers, 1,200 net for the ADU, 2,400 net for the house. So we're getting $3,600. And our total cost with the ADU and the main house was around $315,000, fully furnished and everything. So we're exceeding the 1% rule, and that's really difficult to do. And I actually didn't want to tell the secrets because people might start trying to duplicate it here in town. But you got to have something that you're good at, and that's what we're going to try to figure out. Like, we're just going to stick to that one lane because that's where you get the highest return here in Bryan College Station.
Yep. And so, thank you for breaking that down, because one of the questions that I'm pretty sure you get a lot is that, like, hey, should I do short-term rentals? Should I do long-term? And I think you've kind of got it figured out and now have the metrics to say,
absolutely,
if you're going to do it, this is the way I would do it. And so you're going to just run that lane and continue to stay in your course.
Yeah, so working with my property manager, what we've seen is that the properties that are 2-1 and 1-1 perform the best. They have the highest occupancy. We're talking about anywhere from 65 to 75%. Like this place, there was only a 2-day gap where you and I could even come in.
Right.
Because like all February is booked.
Yeah.
And this is only 2 days where we could come in here. And the main house, you were looking at like 30% occupancy. And it also didn't help that in the last 2 years, when we run the projections, we use AirDNA and Price Labs. The numbers look great, but it didn't account for an increase in inventory of so much competition, like 200% increase in inventory. And so like we got crushed. Like our revenue was down like 35% for the Airbnb, looking year over year. And same thing with my mentor and all the different properties my property manager managed. The ones that weren't affected were the small ones that were 1-1 or 2-1.
Right.
And the cost of that is very low, right? The return is crazy. $1,200 for $55,000, like it's insane.
So like I told you at the end, we'll dive into some of the AirDNA and Price Labs, and obviously you can subscribe to some of those specific metrics to help you analyze. And I'll kind of show you how at least I have used it. Obviously, if you want to reach out to Viet, he can show you how he's used it. Everyone is different, so you have to make sure you find someone who's going to match to your investment style and that can also understand your ultimate goal. But right now, we'll just kind of take a look at kind of how they've laid out this one. We won't be able to, I guess, your mind, like when you were trying to figure out, because this was a garage at first, right?
Yeah, it was just a typical garage. You didn't even have drywall in here.
Okay.
So we had a vision. We wanted something simple, open layout. Obviously a private bathroom. And there's one thing that would change, like a closet. But this is the best we could do at the time, because you have this little rack right here that people can put their stuff in. But you have, obviously, here's the master bedroom, just the bed, I mean. And then here you have the living room. But it's just pretty open, seamless. And we really wanted more windows too. And during the construction process, the guy that did it kind of dropped the ball. Because even though a space could be small, if you have more windows and more lighting, it makes it a lot bigger. So that's another regret I have, which is not going to happen the next time I do it.
There you go.
We're going to do it in the next 3 months. But it's pretty simple layout.
So let me ask you a question. So this was a 1 or 2 car garage?
It was a 2-car garage. So most 2-car garages were between 400 square feet to like 425.
Okay, gotcha.
And so side by side. So you need minimum 400 square feet to make it, big enough to where it's worth people's time. Like I've seen 1-car garages, but that'd be a hellhole. You'd be cut off halfway right here. So I mean, like, where would you even put the bathroom? Like,
right.
Like maybe a stand-up shower and a sink. So I mean, there's certain size requirements, but if you actually find a detached garage that has plumbing and electrical, which we found one in town.
There you go.
I'm not gonna tell you about it until I get it under contract, but it'll save you a lot, because the plumbing and electrical was like, man, $18,000 at this whole project. So you would save a lot of money if you found one that had that.
Okay, there you go. All right, so let's go take a look outside. So tell me about how you separated, I guess, the fence.
Yeah, so originally when we had this marketed, both in terms of the long-term rental and short-term rental, it was a shared backyard, right? And people knew that, hey, you go in the backyard, there might be somebody there hanging out with you. But then when we thought about it more in the liability side, the long-term tenant has a dog. And we're like, well, what happens if the guest comes out and the dog attacks him? Well, that's gonna be a big lawsuit, brother. So we decided just to spend, a small amount of money to separate it completely and just have that off our mind. And also, it's an expense, right? So it cuts against our income, so it works both folds. And they still have, the backyard here is so big that it didn't matter. Like, look how big this is for an ADU.
It is. I mean,
we wanted to keep the storage shed in there so that when we stored stuff, that we could easily access this through the ADU. And that was what was really important for us, because now this is where we put all the stuff.
So one thing to keep in mind is if you're a first-time investor or you're an experienced investor, you know this already. But when you are investing and you have construction costs, that helps. If you have like another job or if you're a 1099, that cost sometimes help lower how much sometimes you can get taxed on. You really need to talk to your CPA about that. But I do know that it does help when you have certain expenses. As long as you're managing, obviously, your income and everything accordingly, get with your CPA. But I always like to drop that in there because that's one of the reasons he mentioned that as far as when it comes to expenses. Expenses would be good when you're investing in real estate as long as you manage it correctly. So, Viet, do you think of anything else that if someone is thinking about, hey, I want to, you know, I want to put this in my backyard, and you're kind of going through your second iteration of trying to doing that right now, what are some things that you think is helpful for people to just think through as they are maybe going to purchase something or put in an offer, or you know, got to do
Absolutely.
the permitting and stuff? Like, what can you speak to
Yeah,
that?
College Station is a lot tougher to permit. Like
Okay.
if you were to try to get something even under contract, you need to go through that permitting process before, because they are hardcore when it comes to stuff like this. Bryan, they want ADUs. I literally talked to the city of Bryan. They want you to build ADUs because they want more affordable housing and more creative ways to gentrify a lot of these places that people haven't touched in 30 years. But when it comes to like the ADU play in general, you want a separate space that people can park. That's really big for us. We added the extra driveway out there. I don't think you've seen it yet. You can coordinate later, but that before, a lot of these places over here only had a 1-car driveway. Even though it was long, it can fit 3 cars. But width-wise, it was only 1 car. We added that in so that the ADU can park on that brand new driveway.
Right.
That's really important because the guests always ask, before we added that in only a month ago, they always had to park in the street. And so they were like, when's that driveway going to add in? Because we had it in our notes for a whole year.
Yeah.
You know, parking to be coming soon, but we had enough money to add that driveway in. And then also storage is a big key issue too, because we're lucky we have that giant storage shed to put all the stuff in there. If you didn't, then you would have to build some kind of closet or something, which would take up space inside the ADU itself to store, you know, the linens, all the cleaning supplies. So that's also really important. And permitting is pretty easy in Bryan College Station. Depending on what city you live in, you really got to look at the permitting first, because that could delay it by 1 month or 3 months. Because in College Station, they don't mess around, man. Like, you really got to do it first before you even go, you know, scribble numbers or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Because they're hardcore about that.
Gotcha. All right. Listen, if you don't know what to do from there, at this point, the only thing you need to do is either reach out to us. It's Viet How. Make sure I have his information in the description, or make sure you can go to our calendar and book a call and say, hey, this is what I'm interested in. This is what I want to do, so that we can understand how to best suit you. So, Viet, appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
And
I'm back here in my office, and before we wrap up this video on ADU, I wanted to kind of come in and let you look at the numbers, because I did tell you that we'll get a chance to try to look at those. So here at T Street, you can see now this is the house that was in the front, the 3-2 house. So you have this kind of idea of what it would look like for a long-term rental. So this is like the long-term side. We had kind of talked about the short-term, but I wanted to help you understand, like, hey, if I want to get a 3-2, you know, this is close in proximity. Now, the cool thing about, I always like Rent-A-Meter when I look at these for all my investor clients, is, you know, you can see the house, make sure you got the right house based off of Google Maps, but then it has a lot of metrics there. You can go in and see, hey, well, this was an apartment that ended up giving 1,100, right? And then these were houses that was a 3, 2.5. It was rented out in August, and then you can get the addresses. So that's very helpful for me when it looks at the long term. And when it comes to the short term, so this is Price Lab. Now, how they work, if you're someone who love to get into the weeds of things, I am good at it to an extent, and after a while I'm like, okay, I'm done. So I have Houston up now. You have to pay for each location, and so because we don't have a current short-term rental in the Bryan College Station area at this exact moment, I just wanted to at least have something up so you can at least see a little bit of what kind of KPIs, which is just kind of your performing metrics that you can understand when it comes to looking at certain specifics as far as pricing. So Price Labs, they can tell you, hey, well, this is like the estimated revenue that you're making in your neighborhood, in your area. And like how many it tracks the revenue per rental over the last 365 days, and then how much you can make on an average, what the occupancy rate. And I would say do not hold these numbers like 100%. I would say let this be a good metric, because that's when you have professionals like me and professionals like, Viet, and who have done it and who is studying this market, and that can provide some of these more specific details and hard numbers. So if you're someone who just wants to get an idea of this, like I have an affiliate link at the very bottom, and then of course as you scroll down, like I said, this is Houston, but you can be able to see more specifics, and it'll allow you to see the actual homes in the area and what they're making. So that's pretty cool. They have a lot of graphs that just really go into the super future pricings, which days of the weeks are best or where the highest. I mean, it goes in great depth. So I did want to just get a chance for you to kind of look at those numbers for now. Specifically, this house is going to be for sale. So if you have some interest in purchasing this home or purchase a home, something like this, as I always say, make sure you book a call in the link in the description, and that way we can be able to talk to your specific situation when it comes to investing in the Bryan College Station area. Of course, if you're out of state, that's great. So I'll do everything to continue to give you as much information to help you make smart decisions if you're coming or investing in a Bryan College Station area. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe so that we can continue to give you updates of all the videos. And hey, I will see you on the next video. Thanks.